Welcome to the Hunters Hub, a Monster Hunter community podcast for hunters by hunters. Welcome, hunters, to the Hunters Hub, episode 9. We're going to continue our Monster Hunter World beta discussion. So this is Fortuan, joined again by Lobo.
Hello.
And theWrathOfGog.
Hello.
So today we're going to talk about just the monsters specifically. I think there's a lot to say, especially about the ones in the quest, and not just like the ones that are target monsters, but in the quests themselves. So I really wanted to go into detail on every monster because there's a lot of details about them. So I say we just sort of like go bottom to top. So I'd like to start with the Great Jaggers, if that's okay.
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 So Great Jaggers is ridiculously easy. Obviously a low tier monster. And of course, we discussed earlier the fact that the difficulty is tuned down on the beta also. But what sticks out about me is a lot of people were like, it's just a giant iguana and that kind of stuff. And while I get that, I would like to see more like the Great Jaggers if he is the new Drome / Augie Boggy type.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was definitely independent of his pack. His pack would follow him around, and they were actually kind of pseudo dangerous if they were actually a threat, because like there were so many of them. And they were annoying too, because they'd scare your scout flies off if you're looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing reconnaissance for him. But after a few hunts, I discovered where he spawns and just started running directly there, which is pretty close to the southwest base camp. So I just kept doing that. So for me, the biggest thing I noticed right away with the Great Jaggers is the part breaking stuff. That how the parts break now. It's not just like, oh, it just broke and like Ruthalos' wing is broke and tattered now. It's like it has like levels of breaking on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts out with a small scar and then it gets like a big scar. And unfortunately, you can't remove anything from the Great Jaggers aside from breaking off claws, and his head gets really broken.
Right.
You can remove his lunch.
Yeah, that's something. The dreads on his back, the sort of like long spikes or whatever that hang down. Did you guys notice that those get bloody and are like matted with blood eventually?
Yeah.
That was cool. That was a cool detail. Like, it's like, oh man, this thing is injured if it's like bleeding profusely out of that area.
I didn't notice.
Most of the time I didn't test all the new breaks because most of the time I was just trying to focus on getting back to tails and stuff to make sure I'm not, as bad at Monster as I think I am.
Yeah, well, I already knew his tail wasn't removable just from the previous footage. So I didn't really focus on the tail, but it does break twice. It breaks off some of the spines. So, as far as like fighting it felt like, I don't know, it felt like kind of like fighting a drome. Like it wasn't really super threatening. Didn't really have any that surprising of attacks.
Yeah.
It feels like a less annoying Ludroth to me, because I hate Ludroths with the barrel rolls all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it felt
He does
kind of
barrel
like
roll.
that. He does barrel roll?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
barrel rolls. He just does it really slowly.
Oh,
When he's
okay.
fat.
Well, so it's not like the lightning barrel rolls that the Ludroth gets, but
No.
it felt like he definitely felt like a low level monster like the Ludroth, just because it's something that you can kind of deal with. He does a lot of sitting around, but he can still hit you if you're not paying attention.
To me, he's almost
Yeah.
a better Ludroth because he has tells that last a little bit longer, so you actually know that it's a tell.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Ludroth is a bad monster. I'm saying he's a bad early monster because I think Ludroth is a good monster if you had to fight him a little bit later. I think Ludroth's tells are much shorter, so as a person who hasn't played the game before, trying to go up against him immediately is really annoying. To attempt to see his face, tilted up, and then he immediately rolls, you almost can't get out of it sometimes. This kind of gives you the ability to read it and learn from it and go, okay, I should move now. Whereas Ludroth,
Right.
it's all about, I hope I'm in the right position and I can get out of the way before he moves, which is a little bit more difficult for someone who hasn't played before.
I'll
Right.
definitely agree with that. That was part of my problem with I think Generations wasn't like the first big monster you have to fight to get out of like the first wall type of thing was a Blaganga to rank up.
You mean for
Am I wrong?
immunity?
Maybe.
No, I don't know. You
Either
know what
way.
you're talking about double cross?
Yeah.
Playing Gonga, yeah,
Oh, yeah, Generations.
That's
you
what I
were
meant,
right, it is
sorry.
Generations. It's the online hub. First
Yeah.
Urgent. Yeah.
But yeah, having a first star urgent be the Blaganga was just annoying.
But yeah, because Blinganga is scary as all hell. Like, he is crazy.
It hits like a truck, and first star you really don't have armor, and it has no tells.
Yeah,
So-
he just hops forward and backwards as much as he wants without any movement. He just kind of like levitates forward really quick.
So I am very glad that we have a little bit better scaling of like, oh, this is an early game monster that kind of teaches you how to play a little bit of Monster Hunter.
I do hope
Yeah.
that we get, some sort of, like, if we don't get Rajang, I hope we get something similar to him. Like, something that's crazy powerful and moves really fast like him. And I know that we're getting Otogaron, but, like, I don't know. I hope we can get a Rajang that actually has good AI, I guess. Because he's notorious for not having it.
I would just honestly be happy if Rajang showed up. I know a lot of people hate him, but I would love if he just showed up again, just as an invading monster, kind of like Devil Joe.
Yeah. Well, I am 100% on board with Devil Joe coming back. I love
Oh,
him.
of course.
I think he's a great fight. I think he's really well done.
I think it'd be absolutely terrifying looking in the new style.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I got scared by the new Diablos because I didn't know ahead of time that he would show up in a demo. So imagine if they let him Devil Joe show up with no announcement or any media saying that he's coming back.
I like how we started
Yeah.
out saying we're going to go from bottom to top, and we've immediately jumped to the top.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
It's
I mean
okay.
we're just a little off track on that one.
yeah.
It's fine.
Well, I don't know what else there really is to say about Jagras besides like his actual system that he lives in, that we learn about, which is kind of cool. The main thing that you really see is that he can swallow Aptonoth whole. They're these, four-legged dinosaurs that hang out, and they're notorious for being in the series. I think they've been in every single release of this series, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Aptonoth, they're in the opening movie.
Yeah, they're always like the first guy you walk out and they're like, hey, slay that innocent herbivore so you can have some meat. And that's like the first tutorial in one of the few tutorials you ever get. But yeah, he can swallow them whole and then he carries them back into the forest and spits it all up for his babies. And you can actually fight him and smack his stomach and he'll hurl it up on his side. And then his stomach actually goes down back to flat, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
I will say, this is something somebody else had pointed out. I liked that he doesn't automatically engage you right away. You can see him and just kind of like chill. If you're not actively running at him with a sword drawn, he'll just kind of go about his business.
I honestly want to just walk around and just watch him do his thing, like for the 20 minutes. I was so hoping I could just do that if I could get this demo on PC.
I think you actually have to hit him for him to actually care about you.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, even if your weapon's drawn, he'll just keep going. As far as I know.
I think he gets angry if you hit the little Jagras.
Yeah, if you hit the little guys or him, it's off. Of course, the little guys attack you with abandon for some reason. So one of the things, like with the tracking and that kind of thing, they talk about how the footprints are all unique to the monsters, and then the various like signs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it was kind of hard to distinguish between Anjanath and Jagras' footprints. I could tell that.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I could tell they're different, but I'm blasting through the beta trying to get things done. I'm not really taking a lot of time to sit there and look at it. But one thing that I did notice is if you see like these deep scratches in the ground, that's typically the Jagras, and those are like the high level scout fly thing. Like everything, like footprints is like a little tiny amount of points towards the fireflies, and then the giant like rutting scratch. That is a bigger amount of points. Did anyone see what he did to do that? Did he just sit there and scratch the ground?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, with the Baroth, you actually see him put mud on the walls. You actually see him
Same with Anjanath, you see him sneeze on the wall, and Rathalos jumps onto the wall and scratches at it. Yeah.
So I never saw Jagras do his big mark, but it's there. I've seen him. But yeah, there's not really a lot to say about Jagras. The regurgitating thing was something I noticed back when we first got footage from Gamescom. So I was glad to see that. Still, that's a cool idea for sure. It's like, yeah, I've got food in my belly. Oh, you're hitting me. I'm gonna expel it so I can actually fight you. But, like some real life.
I did like
animals too.
I did notice they went to animals' feet a lot more often. Generally, like you didn't see it happen too often in previous games. At least I thought, like maybe it'd happen every 3 or 4 hunts. But in this one, it seemed like they definitely were wanting to go off and get actual food more often than not.
Yeah, even if they weren't injured, even if you hadn't found them yet, they would sometimes just start eating. There were several times I walked up on Angie and he was eating something.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that they would be like, okay, if we want to make this have some kind of
feel like a world,
emulating situation, you say, okay, have it go here to eat, but instead of it just hanging out and roaming, have it actually go between those things, cycling between those things, so it looks like it has an agenda through its day, which makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's about it for Jagras.
Yeah.
So, from there, I would really like to talk about the Baroth. So the Baroth is the second quest, which is in the Wildspire Wastes, the sort of mud T-Rex.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Is he a herbivore or is he a carnivore?
As far as I know, he
must be a carnivore because he eats bugs. That's like close to a carnivore.
Well, yeah, it's called an insectivore.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, at least he was an insectivore before. I didn't see him eat a lot in this one.
He smashes the anthills like in the original.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Really? Okay.
Eats the termites, yeah.
Yeah, the giant.
I heard people talking about him smashing the anthills. I just never saw it myself because I was just in battle mode.
Well, yeah, when you're in battle and he smashes into them when he's charging you, he knocks himself over. But he can do he can purposely do it. Apparently, I think I've seen some shots of him doing it purposely.
one thing that is very noticeable is it used to be kind of wonky. Like, oh, here's a glob of mud. Now you're in a ball of mud. Run around so you get out.
Look at
but the
look
mud
at all
globs,
this wet mud.
like,
It just completely encased you and has cooled and has now cooled, hardened, and you were stuck in a giant ball of mud. Yeah.
But now there's these just giant wet globs of mud, which is far more than it actually on him. But still, it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks really good. And also, it's really, like, I really like the mechanic much more, especially when you're in the water, because you can walk on top of it.
Right.
It's very cool.
So, I feel bad. I never actually went into that water muddy zone that the thing that eats Baroths lives in.
Well, it doesn't eat him, it's on par with him.
Yeah.
The Gerontidos.
Yeah, I never ran into that. Because usually whenever I fought the Baroths, it was, like, up in, Diablos' land.
I think it's funny to know that you guys both didn't really, like, try to go after the other monsters. You focused on the main ones.
I didn't. I focused on the main ones because I had a goal of defeating everything with every weapon. So
my biggest issue is I was trying to jam it in, and I didn't really read about the demo as much as just, get in it as much as possible and just get what I could out of it.
Oh yeah, well then we can definitely revisit those, like, the other monsters when we come back next time if you find time to fight Rathalos and Diablos.
Oh yeah, this upcoming week I'm definitely going to be hitting it up.
Yeah. And especially if you guys go
Christmas weekend.
Oh, sorry.
I said, unfortunately, it's over Christmas weekend, so I'm not even sure how much I can play.
Oh yeah, that weekend for me is like the first family Christmas I have to go to, where I get nothing. I just kind of hang out while my parents get drunk. Ooh.
So back on the Baroth, the thing that I wanted to talk about is the flukes, the sort of spires on the top of his head. Mm-hmm. They've always been a thing, right? Like, okay, he breathes out of him the mud. We see all that in Monster Hunter Tri's Ecology of the Baroth, right? Way back in the day. He sits in the mud, and those sit out there, and it's like having like a cattail straw, so you don't drown. But it was really cool. Like when he goes to charge, he blows air out of those flukes.
Yeah, and
it makes a whistle noise like a train.
Yes,
it is so cool, and it's like. I heard some people say, like, oh, that's really stupid and unrealistic. And I'm like, I don't care if you think it's unrealistic or not. That is so cool. It's like, they're actually, like, acknowledging that that might actually sound like something coming out of there. I wonder if they actually did, like, experiments, like, what would happen if you had this and you just blew into it? Would that make noise? Like, that'd be cool if they did that. But, I mean, either way, it's a cool noise. They always said that he
was supposed to be, like, a bulldozer, so it makes sense that they would focus on locomotives.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, his design was on a bulldozer. I mean, he does pretty much charge like that.
I think it's funny how little change he was given as a monster compared to the others. Being brought from the older generations to this one, especially compared to Rathalos. I mean, Rathalos is a completely different monster. And even Diablos is fairly different, but mostly with like the way it digs and stuff. Seeing Baroth
it's all just aesthetics.
Yeah, seeing Baroth having almost all of his move set, and not really anything different besides his tail slapping he does in this one. It was cool to kind of see the OG Baroth in this new environment. And speaking of that, I think it is really cool how he slaps his tail, because it used to be he did this weird, like, tail whip thing where he spun around, and it looked really dumb. And now he, like, slaps the ground with his tail, which is really cool.
I do agree. I like that they got rid of the whole every wyvern does a spin. And even then, Rathalos doesn't double spin all the time. Sometimes he will just do a spin once.
He looks, and then he goes... I mean, he did have a tail, but you can tell he's like paying attention. He's not just going, I know there's people, butt sensor.
Yeah.
Or like Duramboros, who would know you're behind him, walk backwards, and then smash his tail down.
So it is nice that they actually have to pay attention now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, animals have ears, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
do you think
you hear...
not Diablos, Duramboros was intelligent enough to be able to think, all I have to do is walk backwards because I know they're there and set myself up the exact spot where I can slap my tail left and right to hit them on either side.
Can you tell when something's directly behind you?
Sorry, what?
I was going to say, can you tell when something is directly behind you and exactly how far back it is?
I mean, if
it's
you're an animal
sensor.
that...
He's got the what is it, the trunk cameras, like on the new cars.
I don't know. All I'm saying is if you're an animal that specifically is larger and does need to worry about that more than something else, maybe you do have a little bit. You do pay attention a little bit more of things behind you.
I don't know. It's a stretch. Duramboros he seems like one of those peanut-sized behemoth brains.
That was... fighting a Duramboros kind of always reminded me of fighting a hippo.
Yeah.
You're fighting
in
there.
Pretty smart, actually.
Yeah, but you're fighting them in their muddy environment kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, another thing on Baroth we touched on is the whole mud on the walls thing. Sort of just marking its territory from the Juratados, I guess. But the Juratados never really leaves the swamp, so I didn't really see why it was doing that. It's just, it's not that I don't like it. It's cool to sort of find like the trail of the monster. I just didn't really see why it was rubbing up against the walls as much as I could understand the other ones marking their territory, because it didn't feel like Baroth really had a territory. It felt like it was more roaming than anything.
Yeah, Baroth definitely roamed. I think it was more supposed to be just another way to track it. Like,
yeah,
this monster.
Well, yeah,
has mud on its
it's
body.
definitely part of the tracking mechanic for sure. I was just wondering on the justification of the mud being on the wall in certain areas.
Yeah, I don't know.
He is a freaking great jumper, though.
Holy moly, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Anjanath jump so far.
I wasn't expecting it, and I got surprised several different times by something just flying at me from across the arena.
He jumps that gap, that huge gap. It's like, holy cow. He does it, back up, too.
You're talking about the hallway-looking one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one if you don't use the flying mantle, you got to jump down and crawl up.
Yeah. I kept accidentally running into him there most of the time. Whenever I ran across him, he was always there.
I would run across him. It's kind of hard to describe the areas, but there was an area where you kind of go under an arc.
Yep.
And then there's a platform in front of there. I would run into him a lot of the time there, or where Diablos was at, which I actually had Diablos pop up very little during that fight. It only happened once.
Well, if you hit the birds above, you can always get him to pop up in that center zone on the desert.
I mean, I was focused on fighting Baroth, so...
Why weren't you fun? Why weren't you adventurous? You want to be attacked by a giant monster? Your favorite?
We went down and actually looked for him specifically. I knew he could pop out, and he did it once, and it freaked out my friends that were playing with me. But yeah, that's we'll get into that when we talk about Diablos. But the fight for Baroth, I think it's a little different. You still have the charging a lot. That's a thing, but he seemed to be a lot. So he used to charge, I think, a lot more. because it was like spin or charge kind of thing, and sometimes bite. He was very mobile still, but at the same time, he was actually aware if someone was near him, and he would actually take advantage of that tail slap often. He would start pounding the ground with his tail or whatever. He did that, I think, a lot more often than he used to tail spin. So, because it used to be Barroth was like constantly back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But he wasn't that so much this time. Although he charges a lot further this time. He doesn't just like hit you and stop pretty much. He doesn't start stopping. He just keeps going. So like if you were trying to chase him down, it was sometimes hard to get to him because he ended up all over the place.
Yeah, I actually noticed how his charging, it isn't, he doesn't really turn as much anymore. He almost always goes just straight. Which I like. I think maybe because this game will probably be just low rank and high rank, they'll probably give him the ability to do his U-turn in the next rank, which is scary as all hell. But overall, it seemed like they kind of altered that to an extent. I do like that he has that like immediate turnaround now, but he uses like the train whistle to warn you.
Yes. So I don't know. Did you guys have anything else to say about Barroth?
Not really. Mostly just because I feel like there's not enough different from the original one to say that he's a different monster. I think they've kept a lot, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I've always liked him as a fight.
He was another one of those of not going to attack you right off the bat until you give him a reason to.
Yeah. I kind of don't know what he was doing other than going and getting termites to eat. But that was it. Like, I don't know why he was goofing around in the swamp.
So what I saw of him was that he would go out into the sands getting ants, and then he would head back to the swamp and get all muddy again.
Okay.
That was my take on it.
He likes his mud.
And speaking of Barroth, just in general with his train whistle, I noticed that the next monster we're going to talk about, which is Anjanath, he had the train whistle kind of too, almost, when he did the not the nose fire blast, but the actual when he opens his mouth and does the huge column of flame, which looks really cool, which is really funny. After seeing these betas, so me and Anjanath over time have had a very strange relationship. When I first saw him in the first preview of Monster Hunter World, this was when I was a skeptic of the game, and I was incredibly disappointed because it was a reskin of not Rathalos, Devil Joe, and he looked really dumb to me. So I was like, they literally just put on some things onto his body, and that's it. That's like all they did. They just made him look cool, and they added stuff to him.
My first question is, why is he pink?
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking about was he's supposed to be like a vulture.
Yeah.
Because he's got, he doesn't have the feathers on his head. But I really liked it after a while because I just noticed how when you start fighting him, he's the T-Rex. And then he just gets all this weird shit on his body. And it's just really funny. He's got these huge wings, he's got this big giant nostril thing that he's flaring flames out of nowhere. And it's not what you're expecting at all when you first run into him. It's very funny. I think the point is that he looks very normal, but after you get into the fight and after he goes into rage mode, he's just a completely crazy monster.
Yeah,
I do like that he looks more, I don't want to say realistic for a monster, but he looks very similar to how like people are depicting dinosaurs now, where it's like, oh yeah, dinosaurs may have been actually kind of goofy.
Yeah, but then he's also got crazy nostril flames and giant wings that just pop out of his back. I also like that they changed the way his wings look now. Before the commercials and stuff that we saw, they were like two half-circle fans that just kind of pop straight up out of his back. And now they kind of look like sails that flare up, which is really cool.
I see what you mean.
Like they altered it over time, which I like.
Yeah, so I wonder if from an ecological standpoint, if those are like vestigial arm wings,
Mm-hmm.
like the brute, but you would think his arms would have been that, but yeah, I don't know. Because not a lot of monsters have like dorsal fins and that kind of stuff, and that's basically what those are. It's just dorsal fins, just a dual dorsal spine thing, and yeah, like it's weird, and it's kind of weird, like when he uses them too, because it almost like he uses them to sort of move faster. So like when he does that sort of lunge with his mouth and then sort of like drags himself along the ground is when that really pops up.
Yeah, where he rips into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, he's using those sails to go further. Like I don't. It's cool.
He's sailing
but like
with the wind.
I don't.
It's one of those
like,
ones I'm gonna probably when the beta comes around or when the full game comes out, I'm gonna watch a lot of the monsters. Like I'll specifically try like throw on a stealth mantle or just engage them and dodge around. But I'll record myself that way I can go back and rewatch and be like, okay, what exactly is he doing? What's exactly the movements that's going on here?
Like I think there's two like ideas I have about his sail wing things, and one of them I didn't think of, gliding or moving faster. I thought more of either he uses them like, I think the Spinosaurus, the actual dinosaur, didn't they use that like almost like a solar panel for energy? They had their giant fin.
It's one theory, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing I was thinking was it was just a big intimidation thing. He just flares up.
Yeah, make himself look bigger.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be
but
supposed to be like it's evolution and he's in the middle, so he's all weird. But I don't know.
I felt like if it was an intimidation factor, you would see those pop up when he encounters Rathalos.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't really.
Yeah.
He just sort of starts roaring.
Maybe he's on his way to evolving into an elder dragon, because he's gonna have 4 legs and 2 wings.
Maybe.
I mean, he looks stupid, but he'd be an elder dragon.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I noticed is, as far as like monsters that have like some sort of breath attack or like fire or whatever element, he used it very sparingly compared to most others.
Yeah.
The sort of nose flames, like he had to be enraged, I think, and it wasn't like all the time. Like Rathalos is known for spamming fireballs. Wrathy and even Kutku would, eventually start just spamming fire in his own unique
Anjanath definitely like builds
lawn
it up.
gardening way. Yeah, he definitely, like, it's reserved how much he uses it, which is kind of different. So like it was almost to the point where it sort of lulled you into a sense of security, like he's never going to do it, so why would I? And then he does it, and you're like, crap, that hurt, or get out of the way, get out of the way. I think it was very rare for me to cart in the demo, but I think when I did, it was to Anjanath's Flames a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think his the one giant column of flame he has coming out of his mouth, I think that insta kills.
Really?
I think so.
Huh.
Or I might be thinking of Rathalos' nuke. I know there was a fire attack that would one-shot people.
I mean, I know we don't really have a what's the word I'm looking for? We don't have great armor.
Yeah. I also don't know like what their fire defense was when it happened.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, Anjanath is it's kind of interesting because you would think that a T-Rex of all things would kind of be the apex predator around, but it's not. He's just sort of like I'm king of the jungle down here, but if I go up there, I'm going to get my butt kicked. So it's kind of interesting to see that they sort of like have these overlapping biomes, because you could get, a Jagras, an Anjanath, and a Rathalos in the same map. And you would notice like Rathalos would not come down unless, you were actively fighting him or you knocked him down from the nest or that kind of thing. I actually only saw Rathalos a few times, but you can see him flying around above you if you look up, which that was kind of cool to see. Like, oh, he's hunting, and he doesn't care about us down here.
I had him show up a couple times. One thing I liked is that the whole when they start fighting and he picks up the Anjanath and throws him down. My initial impression was, that's going to be scripted for this like a very specific area and a very specific timing, and it's barely going to happen. No, it can happen like anywhere, and even where he throws them isn't guaranteed to happen. And there was a cool video somebody posted where there's where the Rathalos' nest is. Yep. There's a really, really deep hole, and there's like a little spiral ramp around it. That's how you get up there. But the Rathalos picks up the Anjanath and actually chucks him down the huge hole all the way to the bottom. Like, get off my nest. Get
out of my house. Yeah,
that's funny.
And it's like, okay.
I like how the Rathalos, when he pins you down, there is one area. I don't know if it's that area. That there's a place that he usually flies to underneath his main nest. Where you can slide down to from his nest, and if he pins you there, he almost always when he pins you, he will grab you and throw you, and he almost always in that area will throw you down into the hole. Like he'll turn around and throw you into the hole. Because sometimes if he's facing that way, he will just flip and throw you down the hole. If he's facing the other way, he will turn around and throw you into the hole. I don't know why, but he always does it. It's really funny.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a video. Someone was up the top. He threw Anjanath down the hole. Then he picked up the hunter and then threw the hunter down the hole. And he was like, "No, this is my house. Everyone, get out!" Like it was a pretty funny
awesome.
Video.
Get out. That includes you.
It's important to note that when Rathalos picks you up and throws you, it's not like, "Oh, I'm just going to chuck you just like half-heartedly and just sort of toss you aside like I'm tossing like a piece of paper in a trash can."
Yeah, he throws you at
flies up into the air and does a backflip and just like speeds towards the ground and just slams you down.
Yeah,
it is crazy fast.
Because when I first saw it, I was waiting for it to be like he would kind of like throw you more horizontal, like you'd glide through the air and smack into the ground. But he actually flips and kind of tries to like throw you diagonally, like sharp diagonal forward into the ground. It's a shame it doesn't do damage to you. I kind of wish it did.
One thing I wanted to note is, this was less between the Rathalos, because Rathalos didn't interfere too much, but whenever they were showing off like the monster fights of like, oh yeah, we can take advantage of this to do lots of the really kind of cheesy audio. In reality, when they start fighting, it's kind of scary. You're kind of like, I don't really want to get in there between those two, because
you can get hurt.
Yeah,
you can straight up get hurt.
They will mess you up.
If you're there?
Oh yeah, like you can get hit by like just being cleaved by the monsters and stuff. So oftentimes when like I keep forgetting the iguana's name, when the iguana and Anjanath, whenever Jagras and Anjanath would start fighting each other, especially in a tight corridor, I just kind of back up a little bit and watch. 'Cause going in just was a way to get just beaten around badly.
Yeah, so the first couple times that Anjanath started fighting Jagras, he always tends to sort of just start beating the crap out of Jagras. Like, I never saw a point where Jagras was feeling froggy enough to do something to Anjanath. That was most of the time like, "Oh, you're here, get away, I'm busy." And then he would just start, like slam him, like, beat the crap out of him, essentially. So the first couple times it happened, we backed off because we were just watching. So I'm talking about, this is me and my two OG Hunter friends that, from back in the Monster Hunter 1 days. We were all like, wow, that is really cool. And we were talking about it and stuff. But the third or fourth time that it happened between Anjanath and Jagras, we decided that, okay, let's just take advantage of this and start attacking. I didn't get hit because I was focusing, I was on the longsword and I was focusing the tail, so I was behind him. But the other guys were in the front, and now, I don't know why they didn't think they wouldn't get hit, because I was like, no, you're probably going to get hit being up there. Try to stay off to the side or something. We actually got a double cart because the way that Anjanath slams Jagras on the ground, it was left, right, and then center a couple times. It's just wherever. It's feels super random. It's violent and quick. And they got hit with the Jagras. Both of them did, and they weren't really paying attention to their health, and they got carted. So I was like, great. That was fun. I was like, and I kept thinking we were always one cart away. You actually had 6 carts in the demo.
You had 9.
Oh, well, maybe that's after 3.
And I saw
yeah.
people on streams lose all 9 against Diablos. Newer teams trying to go against him.
No.
People dropped like flies against him. It was great.
Yeah, I guess we'll just move on from Anjanath and just talk about Rathalos just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Rathalos, he seems like he's a very, I don't know, a lot of the stuff that I saw, I mean, I fought him myself a couple times. I didn't kill him because I just had this idea that the Apex ones, since we're not meant to fight them per se, I was like, yeah, I'm not in a 4-man, or when I'm by myself, I didn't really feel like soloing them, but that foe is a little above me, or above that I care to try. So, but I fought him just to do it. But Rathalos is scary now.
Yeah.
It used to be okay, it's Rathalos. I know how Rathalos is.
Yeah.
But I'm getting the Monster Hunter 1 vibes. Monster Hunter 1, they build up Rathalos because it's not. Rathalos was the original Devil Joe. Rathalos would just show up, and you're like, I'm trying to carry eggs. Go away. Yeah. Or I think he even showed up on one of the gathering quests. It's I need 10 unique mushrooms, and it's oh, okay, what's that? Yeah. So Rathalos used to sort of be the big oh no, we are not ready for him, and I felt it's definitely back to that for Rathalos. Rathalos is intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Him flying around and that kind of stuff. Of course, we've seen several people kill him in videos now. I mean, Eric's has put up I guess today he's talking about, or tomorrow he's going to be putting up a naked run. Of killing Rathalos. If you watched his video today, he talked about it. But it's just it was just I don't know, it didn't feel like it was very safe at all to really take him down. So I didn't. I just messed around with him to see what he was like. I mean, his fire is so far reaching now, and when he hits the ground, like I mentioned earlier, it's it's crazy good looking, but at the same time, it's very dangerous. I've seen a lot of people on stream just die from that.
Yeah, one thing that I'm really excited
about. I saw
about.
clips afterwards, but yeah.
One thing I'm really excited about is one of the moves that he has now is he has his in-air nuke.
Yes.
And I'm really excited about that because that means we won't be getting all of the copies of Rathalos back. Because there's no point. That was Silver's thing.
The flying whoosh thing that he does where he kind of does a sweep of fire. I've seen so many people die to that single move.
Yeah. Now, what makes you think you're talking about the subspecies?
Yeah, I don't think the subspecies will come back because Silver's main thing was that he had the in-air nuke. That was his cool thing. And now that Rathalos has the in-air nuke as the normal low-rank Rathalos, there's no need for it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a leak, and the leak at least had Azure Rathalos.
Ugh. I don't want
Yeah,
to
it
deal
had a
with...
lot of the subspecies for the existing monsters.
I want cool subspecies. I don't want the boring ones. I want the color-coded ones. I want Tiger Stripe versus normal Zamtrios, or like
I just don't want Tiger Stripe back because I don't want to die every single time.
Oh my god, he is so hard to fight. He's great. He's such a good monster. That's why I liked fighting him, though. He was such a step above Zamtrios. That was why he was so crazy.
I liked Zamtrios a lot.
Oh no, I love Zamtrios too, but the fact that he was so different was what was so great about him.
What I was going to say is, aside from, not really fighting him too much, it was pretty easy to tell, like, this is leaps above what Rathalos acts and moves like. They really overhauled him.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of weird that Baroth wasn't really that overhauled, but then again, I don't think Baroth really needed to be that changed.
Yeah, he's in such a flat area and he charges just like he needs to. There's not really much that you need to do.
Right. So I don't know. I didn't have a lot more to say. I'm glad he flies still.
Yes.
A lot.
It is cool seeing him fly away too, like because he takes advantage of the highs and lows, and
yeah,
right.
There's no more World Tour Rathalos in the sense of he just kind of goes up in the air and circles around for no reason. He actually goes places, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's intentional. It's cool. It's funny how much the semi-open world thing has gotten to me. To actually watch Rathalos fly away instead of he flies straight up. You look at a circle, you see it turn, it moves in a certain direction, and you follow it. You actually see the Rathalos fly somewhere else, or he flies up to your area. It's really cool.
I think that is the thing I do like about no more loading zones and no more and having these tracking flies is, previously when a flying wherever wanted to bail, it's like, all right, everybody look at the ground, stare at which way the shadow went, and then open the map and hope you guess right.
Stand in the middle of the shadow and then click the lock-on button as it moves away, and you'll know which direction he's moving.
And now it's actually like, okay, where could he have gone? And you can use the tracking flies, and it just feels a lot less video gamey and more like, oh, it's an actual monster, and just
like they said, it's the monster hunter they've always wanted to make, and I believe it.
It always, I think I'm happy too because it's the monster hunter that finally looks like the cutscenes.
That's really cool. Actually, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, it's a good point. So I guess from there we didn't have much else to say about Rathalos. I think
overall. Well, I was wondering, does anyone know if he would automatically come back to the nest after you broke an egg? Did anyone ever test that?
I don't. I'm going to test it now.
Yeah.
I'm
hoping you can still kind of impersonate the mini game because you do have the eggs in his nest up there.
How do you drop an egg now? Because you can't just roll with it anymore, though.
It probably tells you.
Because that's how I always summoned a Rathalos was, pick up an egg, roll, pick up an egg, roll,
when you're
pick
holding
up an egg, roll.
It has all those buttons. You can probably just crouch and drop it, or there's probably
a button.
Yeah, it probably tells you the prompt too.
You could probably, if they didn't do that, I bet you could go into your inventory and just discard it out of your inventory.
Or you could gesture.
It does appear in your...
Or unsheath your weapon, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. That would probably be a good way.
Maybe dropping from the ledge. Or, you could put down some bombs.
They do give you a lot of bombs.
Put down some bombs. If you put down the two of the small bombs that set themselves off, the small barrel bombs, in front of the dam, it will actually blow up the dam.
Really?
So if you set them down really quick, run down to the nest, grab an egg, then just let yourself get into the flood a little bit. I'm willing to bet that you'll drop the egg in the flood, get out of it quick enough that you're not stuck in there, in the water, and then you can just wait there and see if the Rathalos comes.
I actually wanted to ask. I don't know if anybody's seen a video of it, and I know it's not really related to Rathalos directly. If you break that dam and all the water floods out, can you just stand there and watch all the water go away, or will it just continually flood until you get washed down it?
No, it goes away. There's a whole area you can run back into.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But it's when I watched Social Dissonance when he was speedrunning the triple solo,
Yeah.
where he was killing the Anjanath and the Jagras and Rathalos with whatever weapons he could, he would always run into the area. He'd go through that camp where you can run across like the treetops to the Rathalos directly.
Yeah.
And he would set down 2 small barrel bombs, which is why I knew that worked. And he would jump off the cliff and wait for the Rathalos to slam down next to him where he could start attacking him. And it was really funny because you can run in, and even though the Diablos will always notice you automatically when you're in his little area, the Rathalos doesn't. He'll be like sitting there licking his wings, and you could explode the dam, run away, and he'll just sit there waiting for it. And then the water hits him, and he freaks out, and then he flops off the edge. Which, that might be just like a glitch. They might change that later.
Speaking of which, that Diablos nest. Oh.
It's really cool. I like it.
So I was going to say, if we're done with Rathalos, I'd like to talk about the Juritatis.
Gerotidos.
However you say it. Anyways, the...
Not Levizioth.
Yeah, mudfish is what we called him. He was actually the first thing I killed online with people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because we didn't know where Baroth... I hadn't fought Baroth yet. So we didn't know where he was going to spawn. We didn't know where he was going to be hanging around. So just sort of like following just, I don't know, random directions. We just... I ended up in sort of like the waterfall area. So I was running down the waterfalls. And then he was down there. And I started fighting him, and a couple of my other friends joined in, and we actually killed him with like 3 minutes to spare. There was 3 of us, and we were all just goofing around, having fun with it. But Juritatis is like, he's really weird, because it's like, it's not like he. The Plesiath has always been, or the Cephadrome, the sort of Piscean wyverns, they've always had this sort of awkwardness on land. But because Jury is like swimming through the mud constantly, he's got this like insane amount of mobility. It's like fighting the catfish, really. It's when the catfish were underwater.
Yeah.
In 3U. And of course, they're back in this game, too. Which they're jerks.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that they attack you when you're fishing.
Yeah, they just attack you in general, not just when you're fishing. But Juritatis is like, he's like very mobile in the mud and that kind of stuff. And he leaves those like mud trails when he's moving through. So he actually changes the environment a bit as he's moving through it and stuff.
Yeah, and you can run over the mud, so you can actually walk kind of above the water, which is really cool.
Yeah, and you come out a little bit and you get a little faster.
Yep.
So it's a fun fight. I'm not really sure like why him and Baroth have such a rivalry, other than maybe it's a territorial thing. Like he's like, get out of here. Yeah. But the interaction between Baroth and Juritatis is really weird, because like you would think that once in a while that Mudfish would win that encounter. It just always ends up being that sort of weird pseudo stalemate, like where he almost bites Baroth's neck and Baroth throws him off. Like we had Baroth limping and exhausted, and he still threw Jury off. And it was like, oh man, I kind
of hope that there is a different, and there may not be. I wouldn't be surprised if not every single monster matchup had a turf war. That would be fine. But like, I hope that there is something for when you get Chirotidos enough on land, like away from the water, that he might have a different interaction with Baroth, where Baroth will just ruin him. Like maybe he just charges him and knocks him over.
No, that does happen.
Oh, it does?
It already happens. So if Jury is like in the way, Baroth will hit the Jury with his head, and it actually flops him over. It actually knocks him prone and stuff.
That's
pretty cool.
We saw that happen once where it was preoccupied with one of my friends, and Baroth decided to switch targets to that friend also, and Jury was in the way, and he just like shoveled his head up and knocked him over, just like completely flipped him. And it was like, wow, that is crazy good.
That's cool.
I unfortunately never got to see the mudfish because I never went into that area. But
yeah,
after seeing all the videos on it on the Reddit and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, now I see it.
That interaction is violent too.
It's really cool.
When it happens, so like I like personally, I'd seen it all, the videos beforehand, but actually seeing it in the demo was like way different. Like when you're actually playing, it was just because it's in a game, it's different when you're watching and playing. But to me, it was like, yeah, I know what this is going to be. So you see Baroth start looking around, and it's like, okay, I know it's here. It went underground, and it's sort of watching out for him, and then he just like erupts out of the ground and knocks Baroth over, and you're like, wow, that was sudden and powerful. And he starts, snaking around him.
Oh, it's
and
so
you're
cool.
Like, it's so fast. It feels so much faster when you're actually playing, because you're like, what? That was frighteningly sudden, and
I want to
play
it so bad.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to see that interaction. But I mean, aside from that, like, didn't really fight him too much. Just that one time I took him down. I saw him a lot, and we would hit him if Baroth was not around, but we would eventually just focus on the Baroth. Just because we were concerned about not finishing in time, just because, again, the players that I was playing with, they haven't played in a long time. They're not bad. They're just not used to it. So, they're not going to have enough time to do a triple hunt like I saw people do. Or double hunt even. So, did you have anything else to say about it, or?
I was gonna say that I'm really excited about, I have a few issues with Gyrotodos overall, just because I think his moveset isn't really that scary. It's not very dangerous, but I think he's low level. But overall, the fact that we are going to have Loborin and him is actually more okay because of the fact that he is so unique. I'm happy that they gave him the ability to be like underwater, even though you're fighting him above water. And I don't know. I'm interested in seeing maybe more Leviathans in this game than I previously expected.
Okay. I mean, do you mean to say Leviathans or Piscine?
Piscine and Leviathans in general, now that we know that there might be some pseudo-underwater stuff.
Okay.
Like, maybe Laggy could come back, I don't know.
I would love for Laggy to come back.
I would
He's one of
too,
my
but
favorites.
he was so anime when he was actually good, I'm not sure they're going to do it.
Well, I mean, Toby is lightning element, and it's pseudo-believable because you can tell it's like friction and that kind of stuff, static electricity, but still, that's still pretty far-fetched. It would not generate that much electricity. So, I could see some of the more fantastical monsters still being there.
Which is Toby's going to show up in the forest, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's actually the one I'm probably most interested in. I know that's not the point of it because we're talking about the beta, but just the fact that I want to see what his interactions with the other monsters are.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen that. I think I've only ever seen Solo. I've never even seen him interact with Rathalos, even though he's up in that area sometimes that Rathalos will go around. So, I don't know. An easy transition, still in the Wildspire Waste, is Diablos. And Diablos, as many people know, is my favorite monster. So I definitely checked out Diablos when I could. I did not kill him because, again, I was focusing on finishing, the fights instead of exploring around because I wanted to kill everything with every weapon. But Diablos was a lot more scary. So he's roughly the same size he used to be, which is always kind of big. But his horn proportions are almost feel a bit bigger now. So you're like, oh gosh, and you still just bounce. Like, I mean, granted, we only had green sharpness on any weapon, but yeah, that was where it was like, if you're gonna attack the face, you just gotta accept you're gonna bounce.
Yeah, unless you're using hammer
or
you're
switch
using
axe.
gun lance or switch axe. Yeah,
So basically, anything that has essentially
mine's
no
IH
bounce.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I managed to kill him once.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
I saw many more people killing him than Rathalos just because he doesn't fly around the whole time.
Yeah.
But he was scary the first time. Him showing up randomly, the whole ground exploding underneath him and leaving that really cool crater. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. I will say, I'm really happy about what they did with him erupting out of the ground now. His animation of him like blasting out of the ground and then just climbing out, it looks so much better now.
Yeah.
Just visually. Did you guys ever see him when he blasts out of the walls?
No, I didn't get to see that.
Yeah, there's an area underground that he can be in, and it's got these giant sand waterfalls on the side. And what he'll do is he'll climb into the walls and then come out of the ground somewhere else. Like he'll smash them out of the ground after. Like he'll charge at you and then he'll just climb into the wall. Like he'll just burrow into the wall as he's running, and then he'll go underground and erupt under you wherever he can. Or he will dive underground and he'll actually cross over to the other side into one of those waterfalls and then blast out of the walls almost like you know how Black Diablos will jump out of the ground and go really far?
Yeah.
That's what he does. He blasts out of the ground and then he like does the whole thing where he throws his horns down and then throws them back up as he's running. It's amazing. Yeah, it looks really, really cool.
I am happy that Diablo still has the loudest roar in existence, though.
I'm happy he still has his roar, which Rathalos doesn't, unfortunately.
Really? I didn't notice that.
I didn't hear a lot of the roars. Aberoth's is a little bit different, but it's still pretty good. It's same, but slightly changed, I would say.
Rotidos has a Cantor's. Well,
I didn't hear a lot of the roars. Partially because a lot of the time when I was playing, the girls were up and I didn't have the TV.
You were listening to them, and you thought it was just them making noises.
No, I just didn't have it up very loud because it would just bother them or something. But aside from that, there's actually a setting that I was made aware of on the sub afterwards. That there's a noise setting called narrow, which sort of like cuts out the higher range sounds, which affects a lot of the roars.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So, in the beta settings, I'm going to have to set it to wide or, standard or whatever, to actually hear the roars better. So, like, I was very unimpressed with the roars. It's always been a thing. Like, the roars are unique to the monsters. They're really cool sounding a lot of the time. Like, it's like an identity to it. And it was just like, they're very muted to me. But I figured out, just going on the sub and looking at stuff, it was actually just a setting that was on by default in the beta.
Well, I agree. I think they're not as impactful anymore, purely because the visual of the roar is a little bit different now. Before, you had that kind of like echoing sphere around them that you saw visually, and now you don't get that. Your guy just goes, ugh, and that's about all you see. And that's kind of disappointing to me. I actually am kind of unhappy that they removed that because I think it looks really cool, especially Zinogre when he does his. Not that I think we're going to get him back, but
keep your fingers crossed though.
I am. They're taped. But I don't know. I'm just not sure that they're gonna bring that back, and it's one of my favorite visuals that the games have had.
It's definitely along the lines of what I had problems with the Charge Blade.
Mhm.
Like, the Charge Blade, part of it was the visual design for me, and they took a lot of that out
Yeah.
to make it more realistic. And I think I've talked about this, if not on Hunter's Hub, but the previous podcast at least, that realism and I are not friends in video games.
Yeah, no.
You have a very large, wide, uncanny valley.
Well, it's not really an uncanny valley. It's just like a lot of times game designers will be like, "Oh, this is the realistic thing and it's fun," and I'm like, "No, it's no longer fun
Okay, yeah.
when you do stuff like that." So the biggest example that I've always had is I played a lot of Battlefield Bad Company 2 back on the PS3. I think it's actually my first platinum trophy. So I played a lot of it. And one of the maps was this desert that had like a wrecked ship in it, like an ocean liner. And the desert would eventually kick up a sandstorm. And it was like, oh, that's so cool. A lot of people were like, no. And it was like, no, because now everyone that has a thermal scope is just going to kill me. And I don't like using thermal. So, like, it was like literally, I can't see. Like, this game is no longer fun because I cannot see. So stuff like that, it's just like, yeah, that's not fun. I get what you're going for realism, but don't.
I'll agree in that.
So,
like, it fits in Monster Hunter because it stops people from just doing it like crazy. But most games, I do not enjoy when they put like stamina bars in for running. It's like, no, just let me run. Like, I want to go faster for a reason.
Especially Legend of Zelda. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's actually one of the most annoying things in Skyward Sword and in Breath of the Wild.
I actually didn't mind. I never played Skyward Sword that much, but Breath of the Wild, I didn't mind the stamina bar that much.
I'm happy they gave you enough upgrades for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's useful, but then it's still Climbing Simulator 2000, and it still doesn't matter.
I mean, if you choose to go that route, you can always not climb.
There's one
like,
that I
how do you get to the part where you can glide for like 5 seconds? Come on, man.
There was one I wanted to point out, and this is something my roommate's experiences because he's playing through right now. It's a zombie game, Dying Light. It's all about running from zombies and parkour. It encourages you not to fight the zombies.
It's a great game.
Right.
You have to have a button to start running in a game about running from zombies, and there's no way to turn on auto run. So every time you have
stamina.
No. That's the thing, is you can run
weird.
for eternity, but you have to make sure every time you land, you push the button to start running. And I think that's, yeah, sure, it's realistic of, I have to start running, but at the same time...
It's also, like, really awkward for a game that's so pinpoint.
Yeah, if your game is about running and jumping, why would you make me have to specifically start running instead of just leisurely walking around a zombie apocalypse?
You leisurely walk, you don't jog?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really lazy jog. Like,
that's
the
weird.
person who's like, let's go for a jog, and the person's kind of pretending to jog. Yeah, that's the type of jog.
Wow. That's weird. Yeah, I never ended up playing that game, but it's always been something that was kind of like on my wish list of games. And that was exactly why. It was because of, not because you had to push a button to run, but because it was the mix of parkour in a first-person game was very unique. And also it was zombies, so it was cool.
So that's one of the reasons why in Monster Hunter, like, a lot of people are really upset about the option to have auto sheath on. And everybody's like, a lot of people were like freaking out about it. I'm kind of okay with having auto sheath turned on. Because
really useful.
You have to move quite a bit now. So, and there's no, in heavy bowgun and gun lances, sheathing and unsheathing animations are not nearly as long as they used to be.
Also, the fact that you can flow, like, you have your weapon out, I need to take a potion, you can, like, if you have the setting where you have to click R3, you click R3, you flick, like, top left, you'll get a max, or mega potion. You click R3 again, you'll take the mega potion, but what you do is you immediately sheath and then start drinking it. Like, it all flows together, automatically. And that's really useful, and that's why I like it.
Mhm.
I honestly, I didn't think there was too much to say, about Diablos in general. Besides the fact that,
Uh,
he still goes out and he gets his cactus. He
I like
stays in
his
this
lair.
area.
I liked how he
he's
shows
got
up.
he's got a good layer. He looks far more intimidating.
Yeah,
If you're
I think
chilling
they
in the
changed up his proportions enough that it's just like, holy cow.
he is
looks very
huge. Yeah,
menacing.
he looks very
Um,
big, even though he's the same size.
he's hard to gun.
I don't like the smaller frail still.
Mm.
Just a small nitpick. But yeah, I'm excited to actually fight him and not just like mess around and fight him.
Yeah, have you
I
guys
think we
seen?
fought him for 5 minutes.
Have you guys seen
and then we
his
just
turf war against Baroth? His
I saw a
animation.
cutscene with it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet. Because the one time it happened with me was me and Baroth were fighting in that desert area above his lair, and then he exploded out of the ground, caused the big sinkhole and everything like that.
Mhm.
And I kind of lost track of where the Baroth went because I was busy panicking about Diablos.
But basically, he pops out of the ground with Baroth between his horns, right?
Oh,
That's the cutscene that they've shown. I'm talking about so the turf war. It's a score that you get whenever you have two monsters that fight each other, like when Rathalos picks up Anjanath. So what happens is they look at each other and they charge at each other, and Diablos wins and does like 1,000 damage if you're playing multiplayer.
really?
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
They
Well,
both
yeah,
look at
that's
each
when,
other, charge straight forward, and Diablos just bowls him over, knocks him on his side. It's great.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why Baroth would do that.
Because
it's
Baroth
clearly
has a big
smaller.
fat head and he's got a little brain.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy this little brain stuff because the dinosaurs with the smaller brains were the herbivores, not the carnivores.
I will say this: it's not like well, I mean, they've if they live in the same area, it probably knows that Diablos just eats plants. So it's like, well, it's not going to eat me. The worst I can do is lose this fight and have to walk away.
Yeah, maybe. But you would think that that's happened enough in Baroth's life that would know not to do that. It's not like I don't know.
There's a good quote
it's
that's never attribute to malice what can be attributed to stupidity.
Yeah, it's true too.
Maybe this time I'll win. No.
No.
So another thing I wanted to talk about in general was the actual areas themselves. And just the new stuff that has been put into them. Because you don't really notice all the tiny little details around the areas until you go through them and explore them. It wasn't until I saw some streams that I heard about this thing called Bright Moss, which you can pick up, put in your slinger, and not only can you shoot it into walls and dimly lit areas to light them up, because it splats against a wall wherever you shoot it. You can also shoot a Rathalos in the face, and it basically acts like a really secluded, or really specifically
Targeted.
Really targeted. That's what it is. Really targeted flash fly on his face, and it'll blind him and knock him out of the sky. And that's insanely cool.
I like the little animals of the area. I love the fireflies. I love the paratoads and the little. It was a sleepy mushroom. I can't remember.
I remember the paratoad. I'm not sure. I remember the dung beetle.
I didn't see the dung beetle.
He's somewhere in the dunes, I think. The Wildspire.
So, in the Wildspire Waste, the basically the hall that has that dip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's typically a dung beetle somewhere in that hall or around that smaller area that has the ledge and the central column thing that Baroth normally knocks down.
Oh, where the Grimalkins can help you.
Yeah, where the black cat, the floofy black cats are. There's typically a dung beetle rolling something around there. You can kick the dung beetle and actually take the dung.
Really? That's
Really?
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a cool animation. He actually kicks the beetle. It was
That's funny.
And he just takes the dung. I did that just to see what would happen.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm really happy about is the hook beetles or whatever, the ones that you can sling off, because the slinger can be used as like a grappling hook, right? And
Yeah, in special places.
yeah, and I didn't really notice until people started looking for them how many there really are, like how diverse throughout the areas they are. Like below the nest of Rathalos, where the flood goes down to, you can actually climb like halfway up to an area that helps you get back there. By using that slinger, you can like go up 2 or 3, throw yourself into a little cove, and then you can climb up and around to a certain area that helps you up into the trees near where he is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then there's where Gerotidos is. You know well, you might not know Lobo, but where he is, he starts at the bottom of the lake swampy area, and if you want to get out of that area,
there's overhanging trees.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3, and you can make your way up all the way around by just slinging back and forth between them.
Did you try the capture net thing?
I did.
I like the fact that not only can you use the fireflies and the paratoads and whatever the sleep puff was, you can hit them in combat to use them, which I love the fact that the paratoad doesn't discriminate who it hits. Mm-hmm. But you can capture all those with your net launcher thing as well.
You can catch a paratoad?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was just like,
that's
boink.
Cool.
Because I was like, this isn't going to work. And I grabbed it and I took it and I'm like, oh, it's mine now. All right, cool. So I'm not sure what's going to be used for crafting later on. Probably a weapon or
that's really cool.
Some consumables or something. But
I will say that net has a far shorter range than I expected.
It'd be sneaky.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like got like a 10-foot range. Like it's not far at all.
Yeah, well, it's
and
weird.
It has a weird sharp drop. Too.
Yeah, it's weird because it has like a square reticle in the center of your screen, and it's like this is completely accurate if you're looking at it really close to you.
At least most things I noticed when I tried to catch them didn't run off. So
yeah,
the range isn't too much of a problem, I think. But it would be nice to have a little bit more.
Fish with it.
I didn't try the fish out, actually. I didn't even try fishing in general out at all.
You can catch like 4 small fish at a time with it. It's great. Huh.
Fishing one of the things that I thought was really cool is you can just kill birds in the air. And the way that we found that out is I was doing a bow hunt with my 2 friends that were on.
Oh, did you just shoot one as you were fighting?
No. I did the combo with the bow. So the level 3 charge, circle for the power shot, and then circle again for basically the hail of...
The arc shot, yeah.
Yeah, the arc shot. The hail of spikes is what I was going to call it. So the arc shot hit like a flock of birds, and it just started raining birds down the barrel.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
They were like, what is all these birds? And like raining birds, like there might have been 3. I don't remember exactly, and I wasn't the one that saw all the birds drop.
It's still like whoops.
They were.
That's funny.
But I killed a lot of birds apparently because I used that a lot, and that is the hunt that Diablos came out because I killed a lot of the birds.
You're making me think now, because you mentioned the Rathalos flies around in the sky randomly hunting, even when you're doing other stuff. He's just kind of chilling out in the sky.
Yeah, so what prompted that is I was doing a solo hunt. This is when I actually did fight Rathalos in this, because like, oh, he's here now. I can go look for him. I was just doing a Jagras hunt. I think, what was it, Jagras or Anjaneth? One of the two. It was like the last night that I could play the beta, the Monday night. I hadn't played all day Monday because I worked and whatnot. So I was just before I go to bed. So I grabbed, I had been playing Skyrim a lot, and I was just, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to play a little bit of the beta and then go to bed. So I just hopped on and I saw like a shadow just like quickly fly past my hunter, so I was just like under a shadow, and then I wasn't. And I looked up, and I saw the Rathalos was flying around the tree, like way up there. And I was like, I'm gonna go up there and try to fight him. And I did. I didn't fight him for long. I didn't even break the dam or anything. I just went up there, smacked him a few times, saw a couple of attacks, was like, yeah, this is good. and then I just ran off. But it was just crazy to just see him out in the wild like that. And his I noticed him because he actually caused a shadow to go over me by flying above.
The main reason I ask is because I'm thinking, because I play bow guns a lot. If as we're fighting and he just kind of just lazily flies overhead, not actively involved, if I can pink him with just a normal shot, and if it'll aggro him enough to come down and join the fight, or if he'll shrug off 1 or 2 shots before actually joining the fight.
That's interesting.
I'm not sure, but at the height in which I saw him, because I was the giant slope down to the water.
Yeah.
I was basically at the top of that slope, so you're on the bottom level there, essentially. And I was on the bottom level when that shadow passed over me. So that was way too far up for you to be able to get a good shot, I would think.
Okay.
Not saying that it can't happen. He could be, you could be in another area that's, closer to him, and in that sort of altitude. But where I was at, I would almost say it'd be impossible.
I think this upcoming week I'll give it a try then. When I go out for a sightseeing tour, try not to hunt monsters, just going around looking at the environment for this time versus just blazing through it like last time. I'll bring a bow gun, and if I see a shadow, I'll see if I can take a shot or two and maybe aggro something from, meters and meters and meters away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In general, I can actually give you guys a few maybe helpful things that I saw over the streams that I watched, movement-wise, for that kind of stuff. So one of the things I noticed is, you can, if you're not in battle, you can basically teleport to different camps, which is really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew about that.
And running forever.
But I knew about it.
Yeah, which is really cool. The other thing that I noticed was that you can actually, if you go on the map, you can pin the different monsters that you want to track, so you don't have to just kind of hope that you're going towards it, which is really helpful. Because I know a lot of people were having trouble with that. I also noticed that a lot of people had trouble with, I think people were having trouble with the scout flies as well. The scout flies, sometimes I got confused about where they were trying to go, and I was just wondering if either of you guys had that problem.
I noticed it's only when you're at a low level of tracking. When you're in level 1 of tracking, the scout flies are just kind of sometimes
Yeah, because they're looking for tracks. They're not looking at a specific place.
Plus, it's also point out gatherables, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they point out gathering points. And they split up too, and you're like, why am I going 3 different directions? One of the things that annoyed me with them is, especially, this happened a lot in the Baroth fight. So the way that I would start, I always started, regardless of the map, regardless of the quest, the southwest camp. Mm-hmm. It's the top of the list. That's where I started because I liked running around and looking at the scenery. So there's a point where there's sort of you can basically crawl out of a cave, or you can just sort of go down the river and just turn left into the canyon area.
Yeah.
And there's always a bunch of Kestodon, and it's sort of a curve that goes back up to the desert area or into the hallway that goes back out to the swamp area. Mm-hmm. So there's this curve area that typically will have Baroth mud there. So sometimes it doesn't. But most of the time you can just go there, pick up the Baroth mud, follow the tracks upward, and you've already hit level 1 because there's always Baroth mud at the top of that area too. But one of the times it wasn't there, or I just went a different way or something. And so I got the Baroth mud at the top of that ramp, and then a couple tracks, and then it was okay, I found them, let's go. and the scout flies led me. So this is level 2, where they actually start trying to lead you that direction. The scout flies took me to that spot where the mud was instead of him, and I was like, "What?" I guess that's fine, but it ended up being like the wrong way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of felt like I already had got that mud spot too, or something. Maybe before. It was just weird. Like, it confused me because I was like, it literally just led me here, and it stopped there too. It wasn't like, oh, here's something to go along the way like it does with the gatherables. It was just like, no, I'm done. But I should be tracking it already. Like, don't just end here. So I picked it up, and then they got confused, and they were like, I don't know which way to go. So I just started running, and then it eventually figured itself out and pointed me to them.
Weird. Well, yeah, I guess
I don't know
if
that's a glitch, but
yeah, I mean, I could see them having some problems with tracking if you're just in a weird place.
Yeah.
So in general, Lobo, did you have any problems with the beta that you might want to point out?
Maybe just that opening part of like with the scout flies, like they I think they should maybe lead you to the first tracking spot, like the first footstep or something, because there were occasions where I spent like 5 minutes and I did not find a single tracking thing. I'm like, where is this monster?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I think that maybe that's what I would add. As for actual fights, nothing was really that bad. As for UI, nothing was really that bad. I would say maybe in the training area, give me the option to hide the combos in the bottom left, because with certain weapons, that those example combos in the bottom left hand side of the screen was like most of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really have any too much. I don't have any big disappointments or anything like that. I'm pretty happy overall with it.
Yeah, that's good.
I know that's kind of boring, but like, no, I'm happy. Like, this is the Monster Hunter I wanted to play.
That's good. I can't see any problems with that. Yeah, all of the people that I've asked about the beta, even the friends that I have that I know I don't know them in real life compared to you guys. That's not true. I know you guys in real life. But I mean people that I can go out and actually talk to and ask about in my hometown have actually said that they really like it. I haven't, and they're all people that have never played the game before. They didn't really have any problems with it at all. And that's so cool, because that's really new for Monster Hunter to be like, hey, new person, have fun with this. Because that doesn't happen. It's really hard to have fun with Monster Hunter unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always better to have somebody teach you. Like, you needed somebody who was good at Monster Hunter
to show you how to play it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't have that, but I was, in day one-ish. I mean, I had my friends, but they're not really helpful.
I actually did have one last question for you guys about the beta.
Yeah.
Did you guys try changing the voice option to Monster Hunter speech?
Never, because I didn't have the beta. But I did see it, and it just sounds kind of like Japanese mixed with gibberish.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to know if you guys had heard it or should give it a try. I didn't even think about it, but I'm definitely going to try it this upcoming one.
I have no intention. Dub versus sub every day.
So how did you guys feel about the handler lady? Was she as annoying as people were throwing out, or was it really not that bad?
I think
I was extremely annoyed with her the first time that I started a quest. And so every time that's your first hunt, so because it doesn't save progress.
Yeah.
It'll save if you keep playing, it'll remember that oh yeah, you already played this once, let's keep going. But if you actually shut down the beta on the PlayStation and then reopened it, the handler would be like, this is the world of Monster Hunter and blah blah blah. And she doesn't really stop you, but she keeps talking while you're landing, and I'm like, just shut up. I know what I'm doing. That annoyed me. But that was just a thing of the beta, and me personally, I'm going to get annoyed with the handler regardless, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the tutorial stuff, but that's me. I want that tutorial stuff to exist for the new players, but personally, I don't want to hear it. So I just
I'm sure once the real game comes out, it'll be fine. I know I did get annoyed once when I was getting frustrated fighting Diablos, and she's like, try evading his attacks. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah, it's also funny because she kind of learns, okay, you kind of know what you're doing. I'm gonna let you go. You're gonna just be able to do whatever you want right now, which is good. I'm happy they did that. But yeah, I've heard that she does talk a lot at the beginning, but the fact that it goes away because it's a tutorial, is good.
I mean, if you think of old Monster Hunters, I don't know why so many
people were like, "Oh my god, she's gonna be like this in literally every single quest." What game have you ever seen that would ever do that?
Here's my thing also, and this is, I know, like a moot point.
Like Navi, maybe.
She's a voice, and I like that she's a voice because that means I don't have to click through 40 text boxes to get to my first hunt.
Exactly.
Like, go back and try playing 3 Ultimate.
It doesn't pause.
I guarantee you'll hate every part of it.
Yeah, if you play through Try, you run over to something, you smack it once, and then everything pauses. You read 15 pages. Did you understand? Click no. Yeah. Click B if you didn't. Okay, now you have to click through every single page again.
Oh, fine. Finally, I get to go out to the field. Blink. Hoy, Hunter. Did you know? I get it. Let me walk, please.
It's like that freaking owl in Ocarina of Time. Did you understand what I've said?
Did you understand
it? No, the owl is the one that has like 7 pages of dialogue you got to read, and then it defaults to the one that repeats them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're just clicking through and you click through like too fast one time, it's like, nope, I repeated it. Oh, I hate you, Owl. Like Navi, she would bother you because she's saying, hey, listen, but she doesn't actually stop you unless you acknowledge her, right? She just keeps saying, hey. Or unless it's super important, right? But like this, the general, like, she doesn't stop you unless you press the button.
Yeah.
The Owl is like, you leave Kuroki Forest that first time and you enter Hyrule Field and he stops you. He's like, dun, 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 dun. Like that little jingle that happens with him. The music. And it's like, oh God, I hate this owl. Just shut up. Like, it's just like, that's just how I am.
My favorite game from the Zelda series, Link's Awakening, that same owl appears and he does the same thing where he's just like, oh, did you just leave this first dungeon? Time for me to talk to you for a while.
It's when I boot up Double Cross and I start fighting. Oh man, I can't remember his name right now. The blue owl.
Malfestio.
Yeah, Malfestio. We'll start hunting Malfestios. Which I gotta show you guys eventually. I'll post it eventually. But I have like a sick guard point kill against a Malfestio that I have saved on my Switch.
Nice. But yeah, if the handler had done stuff like this first time you take a hit every single in the hunt, it froze the screen and then had like a highlight of your health be like, look up here, do you see the red means you took damage? Blah blah blah. That would have caused legitimate rage. But no, like the idea of just try dodging his attacks. Okay, I can live with that, I guess.
Yeah, and also like everything is just fast now. Everything just is a little bit. It just flows together a little bit better. Like, you put down a trap a little bit faster. You drink potions and you move. You put away your weapons faster.
And some of it's pretty intuitive too. If you ever saw Ego Raptor's Mega Man sequelitis roll coming up, whoop, Mega Man. So Capcom knows how to do tutorials wrong. So the fact that they have a voice that doesn't pause the game, I'm okay with.
Yeah. I'm still very disappointed at how much coverage the beta didn't get in some other gaming areas.
What do you mean?
Kind of Funny Games, Easy Allies, a lot of those bigger gaming podcasts didn't even really give it the time of day. Aside from Easy Allies did talk about it on not Friend Code, that's their Nintendo one. It's the
Oh yeah. I know.
Crap. They have a specific podcast where they talk about the games they've been playing this week. I don't watch that one as often because it's like 3 hours long and a lot of when we go off topic, they're like worse. But a lot of times they're playing games I don't care about. But they did talk about the Monster Hunter beta for a good portion of the most recent episode. But aside from that, a lot of the other podcasts, they haven't even mentioned the beta. They were all talking about PSX and that kind of stuff, which is fine, right? A lot of
Game
stuff
Informer had their
happened.
whole article about it, which was really cool. I didn't get to read it though. I haven't looked into it yet.
Yeah.
I don't really want to buy an article just to read about it, though. That's the thing. I
mean, I have it. I have that article because I have Game Informer.
But I know, what's it called? Pro Jared. I almost said Pro Gerard, which is not right. But
no, that's their mashup. It's when you mash up Pro Jared and Gerard the completions together. You get Pro Jared.
But I mean, they do a lot of mashup. By the way,
but
Pro
no, they're
Jared,
the finishist.
Yeah. Pro Jared, he brings in a lot of good, actually get people getting to see Monster Hunter because of his, he mixes up with the completionist, and they have that whole group of fans that all follow that group of YouTubers. So hopefully, they'll start spreading the word to their other groups, and it'll get more attention. I unfortunately have a biased view of YouTube because even when I clear my viewing history, I still get the same 5 people, so I don't have a good estimation of how much exposure it's getting.
Yeah. I think
it's getting a lot of exposure in a lot of other wheelhouses, but a lot of the bigger general gaming people aren't talking about it.
Okay.
Still.
I didn't see much on YouTube. Lyric played it on the Twitch, which is the biggest person that could possibly play it on Twitch. Which was cool. I'm not sure I saw much on YouTube.
Hit Me JP was pretty big on there too. He's a big Twitch guy. But I know him from his D&D stuff, not his.
Oh, I do have a side note, by the way. Was anybody else's Palico completely freaking useless?
I've heard they were. I've heard the only useful item that they had was the flash bomb.
I just was upset because when I was gunning, my Palico was standing right next to me all 20 minutes of every single hunt. And it's get away, go distract it. Stop making it target me.
I don't know why they're so useless now. In the other games, they actually went and fought the monster. Cha-Cha. Oh my god, he would not stop fighting the monster. He wouldn't stay next to you ever. He was always whacking at it until he passed out. Over and over again. And then he would dance non-stop. And you don't really see these guys doing much. And it may be because they aren't given the right tools. They haven't been given the right skills to really be useful. But it's kind of disappointing that they're worse now.
I think it might just be because of beta. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to play through without a cat, honestly, just because I like the predictability of always knowing it's going to turn towards me or, setups like that.
Oh, but speaking of...
I'm going to have a cat. It's going to be named Zumar.
Zumar?
Yeah. So, a little bit of history between, my name, Fortuan, was always my D&D character, and he always had a companion that was named Zumar.
Huh.
He was a kitty.
And I named... Well, no, he was a cleric.
Oh.
So it was a rogue and a cleric, which was made for a comedy dynamic in my little headcanon of my D&D characters. But, I then... my most recent cat that I no longer have was named Zumar. So I had a cat for about 5 years named Zumar. So every single Monster Hunter cat, and this cat loved me. Normally cats are they're standoffish, but he would sit on my lap for hours while I was playing Monster Hunter, especially through you. This cat was awesome. He would, when we got him a little bit too young. I don't think he was supposed to leave his mom yet, but we still got him. He used to climb up and literally climb up onto my bed, jump up, claw into the blanket, scale it like a mountain, and then come up and like lay beside my face and go to sleep. Which normally was fine until one night I opened up my eye and he had that look on him like a cat hunting. He was like, something moved, and I was looking around like, what moved? What do you mean? Like, you're really close to my... Oh no, he's looking at my eye moving. So I closed my eyes real quick, and he actually slashed my eye.
Oh, jeez.
It was just my eyelid.
Oh, it makes me want a cat so much. Thanks.
But he used to do things like when I get home, he would run up me to like get on my arms. Like he would actually run up my leg, my jeans. He did that until he was actually too big to do that. It was just like he really liked me. I never had a cat like me like that, and he did. So that's why he's always going to be my palico. So
that bond. You better put a scar over your eye on your character.
I don't have a scar on my eye.
I don't care. It's for the thematic elements.
I did play the old guy in the preset.
Oh yeah. Did you play the guy from The Room? The one that was going around the subreddit that looked exactly like whatever his name was.
Tommy Wiseau.
Oh my god, it was so good.
I did not hit her or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Greatest movie in the world. Besides Trolls 2.
That's it for today, folks. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next quest.
Adios.
See ya. Oh, and don't forget to play the beta from the 22nd to 26th. Again, you don't need PS Plus. Woo! #ad.
Thank you, Hunters, for listening today. You can catch us on SoundCloud or any past episodes on Google Drive Download or YouTube.